Yo. Yo, turn me up, yo. Okay. The world is what we're making when we visualize. It's in your eyes. Realize. Stay alert. See your inbox and don't blink. Don't blink. Check it out. Yo, go Phinc. Go.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Okay, so before I answer that, right? Let me first lay the groundwork for why, in the first place, I ever began to talk about showing up fully. I realized that in my life, right, I felt like I was not getting the best out of, the experiences that I had. I would meet people who seemed to be getting so much out of life, so much out of experiences. They would tell you about the experiences that they had, and you would wonder why you never had that sort of life or those sort of experiences. In some cases, they would tell you things that they've been through that are similar to things you have been through, and you can't understand, or places that they've been to, and you don't understand why you haven't experienced similar things, right? Or I would hear people come up with ideas or speak about conversations that they heard, and it always felt like I was missing something. And I realized this was not just even an issue that I had, was an issue that so many other people who were like me, or I felt like a lot of other people had. Something was missing. And so in thinking about this and trying to find out what the issue was, I found out that I wasn't showing up fully. And then in thinking of that, and when I had come up with that, solution, or rather, when I'd come up with that thought that, what was missing was that I was not showing up fully, and I started to show up fully, I started realizing that the effects, the impact, the results that I started getting in my life in general were amazing. It is sad that I started learning that late in life. So what is showing up fully? Showing up fully is being 100% in the moment, knowing what it is that you need to get out of that moment. So it's not just being 100% in the moment, it's being 100% in the moment, but saying this and this is what I'm getting out of this, or I'm supposed to get out of this. So what happens now is when I'm having a conversation, I say to myself, what am I supposed to get out of this? Right? Sometimes I don't necessarily know what it is. Other times I do. But whether I do, I know before the conversation begins, or I don't, my heart and mind is open. And so I'm constantly saying to myself, so if I do know what I'm supposed to get out of it, what happens is I'm saying to myself, I'm waiting for it, I'm waiting for it, I'm waiting for it. And when it comes, I'm like, got it. Of course, most times I will shut down after that. But if I do not know what it is, I'm open from the beginning and I'm saying to myself, what it is, what is it, what is it, what is it? And then it hits me and I'm like, that's why I was supposed to have this conversation. And I get it. And I take away from that, and it helps me become a better person. It helps me become more. In the case that I was, say, for example, even as simple as going for a lecture, right? So I go into class, I wish I had known this before and known about showing up fully, or going for a meeting, I say to myself, what am I getting out of this? If I had said that to myself when I showed up, I would take what I'm supposed to get and then move. Right? And this is the concept. This is what showing up fully is. Being 100% in the moment, knowing that you are supposed to get something out of this. I'm thinking that if more people understand the concept of showing up fully, they will make the best of the times that they are watching movies, right? They would see the lessons, life lessons, right? When they're reading books, they would be there in the moment. When they go on holidays, they would get the most out of it. When they're having conversations, they will get the most out of it, right? The beauty about it is there are some times that it isn't necessarily just even, so it is about getting something out of it, but sometimes that getting something out of it involves you knowing that this is the role that I'm supposed to play in the other person's life, right? So I can go for a meeting and I'm saying, what am I supposed to get out of this? And then I get out that, you know what, help this person do X, Y, Z. So I know this is the role I'm supposed to play, and it happens, right? So that for me is what showing up fully is. I think it's one and the same, right? Because you know that you need to be 100%, knowing what you should get out of this. And like I said in my last point, you understand also that getting something out of it also requires you sometimes inputting something back in. Then you know that from the beginning to the end, you must be there 100%. Because you don't know. You never know. Or rather, you know that if you're there 100%, knowing what you should get out of it, you will make the best of the beginning and the end. I believe that the beginning of something is the end of something. And I believe that the end of something is the beginning of another. Hence, if you are never always 100% showing up fully in the beginning and the end, then you will miss out the opportunities of getting from what you ended or knowing what you're supposed to put in, right? So take, for example, I'm a guy who is moving from one job to the other. And this happened to me. Because up to the last day that I worked, you know, as an employee, I was there 100%. In fact, my last day, I worked till 9:30 in the night, right? I was there fully. And I knew that whatever I did now will affect the future, will affect the next thing I was doing. And within a week, they had called me, my former employer called me and changed my status from employee to employer. So I was just leaving and I became to consultant, right? So I moved from being an employee into being a consultant simply because I was there 100%. And on the last, people will remember the last moment you had with them, working with them, what you did to the end. I mean, even if I fired you, right? And I noticed the diligence, the hard work, the heart you put all the way to the end, I would always refer you. I will have no issues placing a referral for you. I will have no issues calling you back if I needed to call you back. I will have no issues giving you better business if I notice that what you wanted to do is something else that we can use. And people need to know this. The beginning of something is the end of something else. And the end of something is the beginning of another. Show up fully in the beginning and the end, and you will be able to convert, you know, these moments that you have into better things. For me, I think maybe 2 or 3 things. One is the objective, you know, and even if you do not know what it is to, so maybe instead of an objective is the question, right? Always have, you know, if you have a notepad and you're going into something or okay, maybe you do not always have to have a notepad, but if you're going into something, you should just walk in with the question, what am I supposed to get out of this? Ask yourself that question. I mean, ask it aloud. The moment you do that, mind, heart opens up, right? I mean, even if you were telling yourself, I'm not sure if something is supposed to come out of this, and you have that internal conflict, what happens the moment you've asked that question? Automatically, your mind and heart just opens up. The next is, once your mind and heart is opened, what happens is you're able to notice more, you're able to be a bit more observant than normal, right? So you're not, things, it's almost as though your short-term memory is, it's pretty much like clearing your cache or your history and just opening it up to receive. So what happens is you're open up to receive, you begin to observe, right? Next will be to capture things. Because again, if you do not know what you're supposed to get out of it, capture as much as possible in the different bits, right? Or things that you think you can reference, right? Oh, this hits me, this hit me, this hit me, this hits me, this hit me. You never know, right? Just capture, capture, capture. I have a notepad and on my phone, so I'm listening to something. Sometimes if I'm in control of the remote or something, I pause, I just capture it. I don't know when I'm going to use it, I just capture it. If I go somewhere, have a camera, if I see something, take a picture. If I'm on Instagram, I see something, I either archive or screenshot. I never know, but I capture. Anything that jumps out of me, out of the ordinary, capture. So first, ask yourself the question, second, capture, right? The third thing is, after you're done, go over everything you have captured, right? Go over it once or twice or 3 times, right? And then you'd be surprised. The next thing that comes up, your mind says, I've seen something. I just saw something that this can, that thing that I learned can apply to. And then when you go over it, you see it, you're like, I can superimpose this, I can use this. Yeah, so that for me would be sort of like a science to make that work.